the U.S. Constitution doesn't guarantee all rights. Like, there's a lot of inherent natural rights that it doesn't guarantee, but the United States Constitution, there's a whole there's a whole cacophony, right? A whole list of rights. Now, I haven't actually read the body of the U.S. Constitution as well as I would like, but Section 9, Clause 2 does give us the right of habeas corpus, so I think it's under Congress, the powers of Congress. And under the powers of Congress, they cannot deprive us, we the people, of our habeas corpus. And our habeas corpus, what are our habeas corpus rights? Our habeas corpus rights are, according to Wikipedia, it's a medieval Latin, which literally means that you have the body and that you're supposed to bring the body. So when you hold somebody, imprison them, and there's no reason, you have no reason for it, you have to, if it's legal or lawfully to do so, there could be a couple things here, right? A cop could arrest somebody, or there's mental hospitals, just regular hospitals. If they think that you're a danger to others, they'll put a 72-hour hold on you. The writ, that means your habeas corpus rights are actually being infringed upon. If there is a 72-hour hold on you, you can put issue a writ of habeas corpus, and they are forced to take you to a judge. And then the judge will determine whether or not you're being lawfully detained. So that's what it means. Being a remedy available to the meanest against the mightiest. It is a summons with the force of a court order. It is addressed to the custodian, a prison official, for example, and demands that a prisoner be taken before the court, and that the custodian present proof of authority, allowing the court to determine whether the custodian has lawful authority to detain the prisoner. If the custodian is acting beyond his or her authority, then the prisoner must be released. Any prisoner or another person acting on his or her behalf. So the right of habeas corpus. The Constitution protects the right of habeas corpus. Is this hat alright? Is this hat working? Yeah, that's alright. So, Section 9, Clause 2, the right of habeas corpus. So, the right of habeas corpus is a right that all Americans have, guaranteed, protected by the U.S. Constitution. The major problems with the Constitution, murder and rape and stealing, like major crimes aren't even mentioned. The only specific crime that's mentioned is treason. And treason is if you take up arms against the government, either if you take up arms against the government, so all you fucking Nazis and Confederates, you sons of bitches, I mean, if you're armed, right, why would I not think that you're fighting against the government, since traditionally, historically, you were the enemies of the U.S. government? Or if you give aid and comfort to those who, to our enemies. So Al-Qaeda would be the enemy of the United States. It's the only, at least, declared enemy that we have. Al-Qaeda, those perpetrators of 9/11, with the war on terror, right? So, the Bill of Rights. In addition to the right of habeas corpus, we have the First Amendment. The First Amendment gives us a right to speech, freedom of religion, freedom of peaceful assembly, freedom of the press, freedom to petition. So, you know, I might not be allowed to, I don't know. There is no, you know, you're allowed to punch people, right? I might not allowed to punch you, but I can yell at you. And so if there was, you know, this has a lot to do with the, actually, let's just go down with the freedoms, okay? So we have a right to petition, right? I'll petition the fuck out of you. Well, I'll peaceful assemble the hell out of you. Oh, yeah? Well, I'll fucking press. I'll freedom of the press you. Well, I'll freedom of speech. Well, I'll freedom of religion you. I will so out-religion you, it's not even funny. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So separation of church and state, also the right to, you know, practice your religion. Nor can Congress abridge the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. That's an amendment saying that Congress cannot pass any laws that abridges those freedoms. So it doesn't exactly say you have a right to do it. It just says Congress has cannot pass a law that stops it. Which I think that stops it. Amendment 2, the right to bear arms. So you're allowed to have just bare arms. You know, you don't have to have clothing on your arms. I'll talk more about that at the end. Amendment 3, the right to deny soldiers your own house for their quartering. Unless we're at war, which we are at war. So if the soldiers want to live in your house, the Third Amendment will not protect you. We are at war. But it says in a time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So we need to, no soldier, though, in the time of peace. If, let's assume we weren't at war, since we have been at war for 4 or 17 years, we're going to be at war for another. In time of peace, then they can't be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner. Nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So these gun nuts, these gun control folks, they're taking away. So I don't agree with the way they interpret, number 2, the amendment number 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If I said with freedom of speech, if I was to say, what? If I said, because I want to yell at my uncle, therefore, I believe in the freedom of speech, and I wrote that as a law. Does that mean freedom of speech is only used to yell at the uncle? That's the reason I gave, but freedom of speech is the freedom. The right to bear arms is the right. So the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, peacefully assemble, these are to be constructed liberally. You can petition all live long day. You can peacefully assemble all live long day. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. How much freedom do you have to deny soldiers from living in your home? All of it. At no point in time, like almost even in times of war, it says, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So let's keep talking about more freedoms, okay? So we have protection from unreasonable search and seizures. There must be a warrant by a judge's signature with a list of the specific things and items to be searched for. So that's, that's 8 freedoms. So protection from unreasonable search and seizures, right to deny soldiers, religion, speech, press, assembly, petition, right to bear arms. Number 5, right to a grand jury, right to remain silent, a ban on double jeopardy, a right to get paid for eminent domain. If they take your property, you have a right to get paid for it, a right to life, liberty, and property. So that's, the right to a grand jury indictment before capital punishment, capital crimes, crimes with which the death penalty is, there's actually 41 federal capital offenses. So there's 41 capital offenses must be brought by a grand jury, except for capital crimes by the Navy, Air Force, Army, or military with the war going on. So the grand jury, you have to get an indictment from the grand jury for capital punishment. If they say you murdered someone and therefore you're looking at the death penalty, you cannot get convicted of it without a grand jury indictment. So the grand jury indictment acts as a buffer, so that way they're just not frivolously throwing out these capital punishments to anybody and everybody. A ban on double jeopardy, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So once you've had a trial for a certain crime, you can't be tried for those exact same circumstances ever again. Right to remain silent. You don't have to, tell on yourself. You don't have to, you have to be compelled to be a witness against himself or herself, I would assume. Nor can you be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So that guarantees due process, right? So we all get due process. Nobody can be deprived of liberty or their property or of their life without due process. So that means life, liberty, and property are rights too, as is due process. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So that's Amendment 5. That's a lot of freedoms there. Right to have a grand jury indictment for capital offenses, ban on double jeopardy, right to remain silent, right to get paid for property that's eminent domain, right to life, liberty, and property, and due process. Amendment 6 gives us the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury in the court with proper jurisdiction. So a speedy and public trial in the correct court. We all get that right for the accused persons in criminal cases. The other rights, Amendment 6, right to be told what charges are being leveled at him or her, or in between. Right to be confronted by the witnesses against them. So right to compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in one's favor and a right to a lawyer. So when the police say you are guilty of this, this, and this, you have a right to a lawyer You have a right to use the court system to compel them to bring witnesses in for your favor. You have the right to be confronted by the witnesses who are accusing you of doing this or that. You have a right to be told what charges are being leveled at you, which kind of goes to the habeas corpus thing, right? People cannot imprison you for no reason. You have to be told what, and then they have to have legal jurisdiction, and then a right to a speedy and public trial. So a fast, speedy public trial. So that's Amendment 6. Amendment 7, rights in civil cases. We have a right to a trial by jury for matters over $20 in controversy. So we always have a right to a jury trial, or at least for civil cases that involves over $20. Right against double jeopardy. No fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any other court. So this is actually twice. Then according to the rules of common law, but it's in criminal versus civil cases. So civil cases, the right of a trial by jury remains for any matters over $20, and then a right to an impartial jury trial also for criminal cases. So civil cases is the citizen v. citizen, when the citizens sue each other. In criminal cases, it was when the state levels charges at you. Amendment 8. Excessive bail, fines, and cruel and unusual punishments are forbidden. So that's several things, right? Excessive bail. You can't put excessive bail. You can't have excessive fines, nor cruel and unusual punishments. So in a way, that seems like torture would be forbidden. But torture isn't explicitly forbidden. So the amendment number 9, other rights kept by the people. So the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others. So the right to unionize, the right to play, the right to marriage, the right to family, the right to love. But this is, Alexander Hamilton, he was saying if we codify the right to speech and religion and excessive bail, cruel and unusual punishment, if we write all the rights down by spelling the rights out, we are denying all the other rights. So therefore, we don't have human rights. No, we still get human rights. We always have human rights. We always get natural human inherent rights until the end of time. So we have natural human rights until inherent human rights till the end of time. The Constitution would enhance the inherent human rights that we have, and on top of it, we have these legal rights that are codified in our central governing document. So that's amendment number 9. 27, we got natural inherent rights. So it's just saying don't construe this Bill of Rights as denying our natural inherent rights, since we always get our natural inherent rights until the day that we die. So amendment number 10, undelegated powers kept by the states and the people, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited to it by the states, reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So therefore, all the power that the U.S. doesn't take, the states and the people get to take the rest. All the power to the people, or to the states, or to the federal government if they claimed it first. So that's not, Amendment 10 isn't really a freedom. 27 does guarantee that we have natural inherent rights. So that's something. The 11th Amendment, this is an anti-right. This should be wiped out. It says that the judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by the citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. So this is saying that individual citizens, so I'm in Colorado right now, so individual citizens of this state cannot sue any of the other 49 states, can't sue Nevada or California or Washington or Kentucky or Florida or Maine, Maryland, none of them. Alaska, Hawaii, nobody, we cannot use the federal government according to the 11th Amendment to sue another state, nor can, foreigners. That makes sense why Germans can't use the federal government to sue Hawaii, but if, apparently you can actually use the federal government to sue your own state or sue other states. So it says commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by the citizens of another state. Okay, so I know that you could use the federal government to sue your own state because the guy that just died in jail, they're using the federal district court in Denver to sue them because they believe they'll get a fair trial with the federal courts than with the local courts. So we're allowed to sue our own state, but can we sue other states? I think we should be allowed to. This prevents us as individuals from using the federal government. Something about states' rights or some bullshit, but we've, already adjudicated that issue. So therefore, the 11th issue is just an issue that restricts individuals from being able to sue, if California injured me, I'd like to have a recourse to sue California. I would like to be able to go to the federal government for anything, really. I don't use these court systems at all, but it would be nice if the court systems was, more friendly to the public. So the president did not sign the amendment bill. There's something about the 11th Amendment wasn't signed by the president. So this came about as a direct result of the Supreme Court decision in Chisholm v. Georgia. In 1793, Congress felt that the Supreme Court had overstepped its bounds and feared it would do so again unless prohibited by the Constitution. The Chisholm case was decided in 1793, just 5 years after the adoption of the Constitution. The amendment was approved by Congress on March 4th, 1794, ratified February 7th, 1795, 340 days. The amendment limits the jurisdiction of federal courts to automatically hear cases brought against a state by the citizens of another state. Later interpretations have expanded this to include citizens of the state being sued as well. Include citizens of the state being sued. So that means you can't sue the citizens of another state. So that means somebody from Arkansas could punch you in your mouth and then run back over, and you can't sue that person. That means citizens from one state can't sue citizens from another state through the federal court systems. That's a limit on our freedoms and the power. I mean, we got the federal court system for a reason, right? So the original case, 1792, South Carolina, Alexander Chisholm was the executor of the estate of Robert Farquhar. Farquhar. So Robert attempted to sue the state of Georgia in the Supreme Court over payments due to him for goods that Robert had supplied Georgia during the American Revolutionary War. United States Attorney General Edmund Randolph argued the case for the plaintiff before the court. The defendant, Georgia, refused to appear, claiming that as a sovereign state, it cannot be sued without granting its consent to the suit. So this Robert gives Georgia money and weapons to fight in the American Revolutionary War. He's like, hey, I want some money. So he goes to the federal courts and says, hey, Georgia needs to pay me some money. And then Georgia says, no, you can't sue us without us consenting to it. And then we passed the 11th Amendment to allow Georgia to get away with this bullshit. Georgia is filled with a bunch of prisoners and criminals anyways. So that's the origin of the 11th Amendment. Somehow they was able to get it passed, and, they had to get all the, 2/3 of all the conventions. It just seems amazing to me. I mean, I guess back in the day, really, people felt Virginians more than Americans or, Delawareans instead of Americans. But since the Civil War, we have a strong federal government. We're all Americans, so, we need to get on the same page. We need to rewrite this document. This is an absolute mess. 12th Amendment. The 12th Amendment changed a portion of Article 2, Section 1. A portion of the 12th Amendment was changed by the 20th Amendment. It replaced the procedure provided in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 3, by which the Electoral College originally functioned. Problems with the original procedure arose in the elections of 1796 and 1800. The 12th Amendment refined the process whereby a president and vice president are elected by the Electoral College. So, yeah, with the 12th, electors are directed to vote for a president and for a vice president rather than just two choices, the top two. So it changes the Electoral College via voting on president and vice president. Doesn't really say much about freedoms. The 13th Amendment abolishes slavery and involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime. So you can still make people slaves, but you have to convict them of a crime. And if they're not convicted of a crime, then you're just an oppressive piece of shit, right? Slavery is illegal. No child slavery, no real slavery. Slavery is abolished. There's wage slavery, and there's still on the farms, on factory farms, the kids still are enslaved there. But child labor laws and, no slavery. You can't whip people. You can't beat people up. You cannot just make people your slave. So that's illegal. The 13th Amendment, bans that. So that's awesome, right? No more tyrannical public education or oppressive parents. The right to never be a slave. The reason why those who beat their kids cannot tell them that they don't have you have a right to not be a slave. You got a right to be yourself. You don't have to obey and, submit to anybody who's a dick to you. So the Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to this jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Once the Confederates were defeated, approval of the 13th Amendment was quick. In the northern states, by the end of 1865, 8 of the 11 Confederate states had also ratified it. Proposed January 31st, 1865. It was ratified on December 6, 1865, so it took less than a year for the 13th Amendment to pass. 1995 is when Mississippi finally ratified the amendment. So in Mississippi, slavery was legal up until just 20 years ago. So, but before the turn of the century, finally, Mississippi was the last one. They never ratified it, but they were the last Confederate state to eventually ratify it. So 8 of the 11 ones already did it. So that means it was only 3, right? Only 3 states, including Mississippi. But Mississippi held out for, over 100 years. So, yeah, slavery is illegal. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment are Civil War amendments. So the 14th Amendment there's a lot to this. There's a due process clause. And it goes to the, first, no slaves. Then they get a right to vote. And then something else. So 14th Amendment, particularly its first section, is one of the most litigated parts of the Constitution, formed the basis for the landmark decisions such as Brown v. Board of Education regarding racial segregation, Roe v. Wade regarding abortion, Bush v. Gore, 2000 regarding the 2000 presidential election, and Obergefell v. Hodges, 2015 regarding the same-sex marriage. So the amendment limits the actions of all states and local officials, including those acting on behalf of such an official. The amendment addresses citizenship rights and equal protection of the laws and was proposed in response to issues related to former slaves following the American Civil War. The amendment was bitterly contested, particularly by the states of the defeated Confederacy, who were forced to ratify it in order to gain representation in Congress. So the amendment's first section includes several clauses. The citizenship clause. So how are you a citizen of these United States? If you're born on this soil, and that's by the 14th Amendment, how are you an American? Because you're born on this soil. If you're born on U.S. soil, in the U.S., or on a military base like John McCain, or if you're naturalized, you're an American. This is the citizenship clause. There's also the privileges and immunities clause, the due process clause, and the equal protection clause. So the citizenship clause provides a broad definition of citizenship, which nullifies the Supreme Court's decision in Dred Scott v. Sanford. So the 14th Amendment undoes Dred Scott, which is a stain on the Supreme Court. Dred Scott decision of 1857, also one of the causes to the Civil War. So we're born on the soil, we're Americans. As a citizen, we're entitled to the privileges and immunities that being an American citizen gives us, such as the right to vote, I would assume, and whatever else. Due process must be used before life, liberty, and property is deprived, and we have equal protection of the law. Equal protection of the law, so that's a sort of compare and contrast, right? If we're legal over here, why are we not legal over here? If you're a Confederate, you can't be a senator, you can't be a representative, you can't be president, you can't be vice president. In fact, if you're a Confederate Nazi, specifically a Confederate, right, fighting against him, piece of shit, you can't hold any office, civil or military, in the U.S. or in any American state. You can't be the executive, the legislative, or the judicial branch. If you're a Confederate, you cannot serve an American government, nor would you want to. That's a treasonous, traitorous, backstabbing son of a bitch. Keep all Confederates out, banned from serving in the government. So that's something the 14th Amendment also does. So the due process clause and the equal protection clause is what, the Roe v. Wade, Brown v. Board of Education, Bush v. Gore, Obergefell v. Hodges. That's where, due process, equal protection. The citizenship clause, if you're born on U.S. soil. So the anchor baby argument that they're Americans. Privileges and immunities, that's actually nobody argues about the privileges, but that's a lot. If you're born an American, you get all the privileges and immunities of that citizenship, which means what? You get all the privileges and immunities. So you can send your kids to school, you can get, on welfare, food stamps, you can apply for a job, you can do, you're an American, so you are, that's actually a ton of things, right? You're entitled to privileges and immunities as an American. So actually that's a shit ton, but I guess nobody ever argues it. So you don't have to, you know, adjudicate something that everybody already knows and agrees upon. Right? So then they reapportion some of this shit and they ban all the Confederates. No, you cannot. Sorry. Congress, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, can remove the disability. If they were Confederate, then, you know, 2/3 of each house has to approve of them. But the 15th Amendment is the black men have a right to vote. So you cannot, the person's race, color, or previous condition of servitude cannot be used against a citizen to prevent them from voting. So this gives black men the right to vote, but still women of, you know, the white and black and brown races, no women can still vote. This is 1860 something. So this is the third of the Civil War amendments. Now I was wanting to read all the freedoms that we have and then read the freedoms that we don't have. So let's see if we can get to it. So the 16th Amendment is the income tax. But our income that doesn't get taxed is rents, dividends, and interest. Because that's income for the rich. So rents, dividends, and interest aren't taxed, but all wages are taxed. So that's kind of bullshit. The 17th Amendment is the right to vote for senators by popular vote. So I would get rid of the 11th Amendment. The 16th Amendment needs to be fair. If we're not going to make the 16th Amendment fair, why are we protecting rents, interest, and dividends? Dividends, that's not the, you know, poor. That's the rich people right there. So 16th Amendment was protecting the rich. And it's the income tax. So before, income tax was illegal until the amendment. So that's crazy how American people voted for taxes in the 1900s. The right to vote for our senators by popular vote. I like that. The 17th Amendment. The 18th Amendment, the right to not drink alcohol. So prohibition, so that actually takes away a right. 19th Amendment is a women's right to vote. So this is 53 years later. After the black men got the right to vote, then women got the right to vote in 1919. Black men got the right to vote 1866. And then women have been allowed to vote for 99 years now. So not even 100 years ago. So white males without property we haven't been allowed to vote for quite some time either. I'm not sure. When did they get the right to vote? White males with property. So, anyways. So, the 20th Amendment lessened the lame duck period between the presidencies. It moved the dates when the officials take office. Before, it was, 4 or 5 months for the lame duck period. Now, it was only, so it's not really a freedom, more of a house cleaning thing. The 12th Amendment changed a portion of Article 2, Section 1, and then a portion of the 12th Amendment was changed by the 20th Amendment. So, really, nobody knows what the fuck is going on. 21, we repeal prohibition, so we can't just erase laws. We have to pass another law in order to undo a law. Amendment 22, 2 terms for president, unless the previous president served 2 terms of a 4-year term, such as Gerald Ford, Teddy Roosevelt, etc. So that was 1952. It limits the terms for president. I like term limits, so that's a good thing. Has to do with Truman or FDR or something, I don't know. DC, the 23rd Amendment, District of Columbia has a right to vote for a president. So the 23rd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution extends the right to vote, the franchise of suffrage in the presidential election to citizens residing in the District of Columbia by granting the district electors in the Electoral College as if it was a real true blue state. You're not a real boy yet, District of Columbia, but we'll let you play as if you are in the presidential election. But actually, when it comes to Constitution, they don't have any constitutional representation. Taxation without representation. No congressional representation. But we do let D.C. vote in the presidential election, and they give us, 3 electors? So only 3 people from D.C.'s votes count or matter. But that's the 23rd Amendment. It's better than what it was. And I'm not going to finish this. So, 24, ban on poll taxes. So, fuck your poll taxes. 25th Amendment, 1967. Something about line of succession is clarified what's to be done after a presidential disability. So, they're talking about impeachment because of the 25th, if they're crazy or something. So, I wish I could go more in the 25th. But that's the line of succession of the presidency is the 25th. The 26th is the right of 18-year-olds to vote. And then the 27th Amendment is the United States Constitution prohibits any law that increases or decreases the salary of members of Congress from taking effect until the start of the next set of terms of office for representatives. That was one of the first 12 Bill of Rights. So, you know, that's 27 amendments right there.